Thank you very much to Kristen, to Hallie, to Steve, and also to Peter. I appreciate it. Joining me now is Congressman Trent Franks, who is a representative from Arizona, and he joins the show from Phoenix. Sir, it's good to have you with me. And among the many tweets that we saw, absolutely, among these many tweets that we see today from Donald Trump, there was this one where he goes, "Our very weak and ineffective leader, Paul Ryan, had a bad conference call where his members went wild at his disloyalty." And, sir, you were on that call. Are you embarrassed by Ryan's leadership?
Well, let me just say I was on that call, and I'm honor bound not to speak to what anybody else said on the call. In fact, in the New York Times article, I was clearly misquoted. I can express to you what my quote was, if it's of consequence here. When I talked about Mrs. Clinton, that we needed to understand the difference between words, which were reprehensible, and Mrs. Clinton's reprehensible policies. And I went on to say that while Donald Trump's words insulted and degraded the women of this country, if Hillary Clinton is the president, we will continue to see the dismemberment of approximately 500,000 little tiny women every year for God knows how long. That was essentially my comment, and that was meant to be to fellow colleagues to help them understand what was really at stake here. And I truly believe with all of my heart that any Republican leader needs to remind himself or herself that their oath before Almighty God was to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And anything that we do that weakens Donald Trump's ability to defeat Hillary Clinton might put Mrs. Clinton in the White House, where she would appoint Supreme Court justices that would not only weaken the Constitution but ultimately potentially destroy it.
But do you think that based on that Donald Trump actually understands the Constitution when he's challenging Hillary Clinton on that stage, saying if he were elected that she'd be in jail based on law and order philosophy of his campaign?
Well, when the question of the Constitution was asked of the candidates, Mrs. Clinton went through a whole litany of social engineering and how she would appoint people based on legal precedents. It was all about engineering a society. Nothing. She didn't mention she did not mention the word Constitution one time. The central response from Donald Trump was to make sure that they appointed people to the Supreme Court that would apply the Constitution as written according to its original intent. And if you do anything else to the Constitution, you essentially make it a dead letter.
When it comes to what's taking place right now within the Republican Party, and I know there is reporting about this call, and you're saying that the quote from you that was reported was about babies being destroyed limb from limb. So you're saying you did not say limb from limb, correct?
I may have said dismembered limb from limb, but that wasn't the point. I never mentioned the word fetuses. I mentioned the word little tiny women because it was in the context here of which candidate cared more about women. And I believe with all of my heart that, and I think most of the women in this country realize that there's a difference between very degrading words of Donald Trump and very dangerous policies of Hillary Clinton. And I think that there have been many opportunities for Donald Trump to try to defend his words. He's not done that. He's apologized. And I just hope somehow that the country realizes what's really at stake here, because I have no doubt that Mrs. Clinton and her campaign will continue to try to drop these kinds of attacks against Donald Trump. And they'll do anything they can to try to diffuse the country's attention from the real policies.
Sir, John McCain from your own home state last night in his own debate said he would not vote for Donald Trump. He pulled his endorsement from him. Reportedly, California Congressman Dana Rohrabacher on that call said that Republicans leaving Trump are cowards. So is John McCain a coward?
Well, I'm not going to speak to Dana Rohrabacher's comments. I will say that
is John McCain making a mistake turning his back on your GOP nominee?
When Senator McCain said he might write in Lindsey Graham, I will just say this much. Lindsey Graham may be very flattered by that, but that approach has a real possibility of irreparably damaging the Constitution and damaging future generations in this country, and I think it's a profound mistake on Senator McCain's part.
Congressman Trent Franks of Arizona. Sir, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.